Saoirse a Kharja, a comrade, and fellow comrades and cadres all over the world. I'm known as Neil or Niall, or I'm also known on here as Red Finian Punk. I'm here it's been a while since I've uploaded anything, and seeing as we just after having a general election here in the so-called United Kingdom, and the Labour Party have won a landslide victory, we now have Keir Starmer as the Prime Minister. I thought I'd talk about that because already people are cheering this on, saying it's great. We've finally. You would think that they'd had a revolution by the way they're going on here. The same people were criticising what a piece of shit Starmer was, because he is literally a public servant of the British state. I believe his background is of the British Secret Police, the Secret Service, like MI5, MI6, one of those. I forgot to research that before I recorded this. This is kind of done on the spur of the moment. But he is definitely well known to be among those right-wing imperialists of such a background. The fact that he's in the Labour Party means absolutely nothing. The Labour Party, for a brief period in the 2000s, around 2007, 2010, 2012 sort of time, under the leadership of Ed Miliband, tried to lean more leftwards in an attempt at pandering to working class, correct, righteous working class pride at the cuts being instilled on them by the Tory government. It was a coalition government of the time with the Tories and the Liberal Democrats. We often refer to them as the Condems, quite aptly. Now, Miliband attempted to name drop lots of previously Labour left names like Barbara Castle and Tony Benn, none of whom were revolutionaries, by the way, all just reformers and overrated fucking icons of the British left. The British left, which is, by the way, the most embarrassing, useless, toothless, veritable fucking joke of all. But I digress. Now, Ed Miliband attempted to make some pretense of the Labour Party becoming socialist, but even back then he was referring to people as workers and shirkers, meaning the workers are the ones who are the good little workers in the unions who have nice steady jobs and own their own homes, whereas the ones who are unemployed, be they because they're just unemployed or because they're too sick to work, are shirkers. They are the lumpen proletariat. They are the dregs of society. He didn't dare mention that about asylum seekers, but they did mention, at various points in time anyway, the Labour Party has mentioned asylum seekers being bogus. Now, the last time we had a right-wing Labour government, even more right-wing than Miliband was in opposition, but when the Labour Party got into power in 1997 under Tony Blair, another Tory in disguise, I fell into this rabbit hole, cheering it on, thank fuck we've got rid of the Tories. Now, I don't blame people for that. I'm glad to see the end of Rishi Bastard Sunak, a more self-loathing South Asian, internalised racist, wannabe white supremacist fascist I don't think I've ever seen. Even Priti Patel has a challenger for that one. Anyway, we got rid of those bastards? Okay, I personally didn't because I don't vote. Now that's another thing. People tell me, how can you have an opinion if you didn't vote? Motherfucker, I've stood in the streets opposing fascism. I've campaigned to stop schools being bloody shut down, swimming pools, public libraries, amongst other people. None of us bothered to vote because it was the Labour Council that was actually shutting these places down. Then I get these fucking pimply-arsed middle-class fucks telling us that, oh, you don't vote. You got no right to complain. We do go out campaigning, or we have done in the past. We've been arrested for it, we've been attacked for it, we've been doxxed for it in some cases, and sometimes some of us, I didn't myself, but some people had their windows put through by groups like the National Front, the EDL or the BNP or whoever. Well, these pimply middle-class Labour aristocratic fucking social democrats do nothing. They sit on their arses for the next 5 years, smugly cheering themselves on that they've got rid of the Tories. They attack people for not having a suit and tie. I've had my appearance insulted. Bitch, you're just jealous because you don't have the style that I do. Fuck you. I've had my grammar insulted because I don't speak the Queen's English. And they sit around reading The Guardian, the Independent, the Daily Mirror, if they're slightly more supposedly working class. They go out and put an X next to some fucking career politician once every 5 years. And then they do nothing else. They don't even know about the fact that fucking Labour politicians, be they local councils or MPs, are involved in the deportation of refugees who are being sent back to pretty much certain death in the countries they were fleeing from, because the British state is fucking involved in propping up tin pot puppet dictatorships in that continent. Don't get me started on that. It does. It brought in antisocial behaviour orders. Do you remember that? Or those of you of a Generation X or maybe very older millennials, ASBOs they used to call them. Anyone who was considered to be too unruly. Suddenly it's okay when the Labour Party's doing this. Why? The Tories do that. Oh, they're victims of the Tories. But the Labour Party does it. Oh, it's fine. Also, does anybody remember the Question Time episode back in around, I think it was 2005 maybe? I can't remember exactly. Nick Griffin controversially made an appearance on that. Caused a bit of a stir, but what happens, Jack Straw, who I think was the Home Secretary at the time, or he had been, when challenged by Nick Griffin, said in something about you're not keeping our country safe and you're not deporting enough asylum seekers and these dirty foreign immigrants because Griffin's a fascist. Straw, instead of saying, fuck you, I don't talk to you, you're a fascist, he said, no, we have deported more asylum seekers than this and more bogus this and more that and we've been tough on crime and tough on this and I thought, you are pandering to Nick Griffin. You're playing fucking argument games with Nick Griffin. A veritable black shirt, a fucking fascist. Not perhaps a Hitlerite neo-Nazi, but a Strasserite type. A fucking far-right racist nationalist. This was the Labour Party then. Now, mark my words here. I will guarantee you that in a few years, or in the next few months even, anyone on the dole who gets attacked by the Labour Party, all these Labour voters who claim to be like progressive, left-wing and even socialist, shh, don't mention that. I will wonder how many of you fuckers will actually come out there and condemn the Labour Party for doing that, or are you just going to do little token gestures of criticising them because, well, we don't want to let the Tories back in if we don't vote for them again? If that's the kind of person you are, and if you're the kind of person that fucking sanctimoniously points a fucking finger of accusation at the likes of me and friends and comrades of mine who didn't participate in this bourgeois circus, if you're going to start saying that against me and accuse us of previous Tory victories in the past, I can say apart from the fact that I'll bring one thing up, I live in the northeast. I live in Tyne and Wear. I'm not going to say where, but I live in Tyne and Wear, the Geordie area. A safe, solid seat. One of the local MPs here is Chion Wura, Labour to the core. An activist friend of mine called Chandni, shout out to you by the way, Bonnie Lass, confronted Chion Wura the other day about her lack of action against the genocide of Palestinians by the Zionist fascist state of isn't real, as we sometimes call it. Chi kind of walked away trying to say, oh, I said this and I did that, to which Chandni correctly said, you didn't do half of what you claimed to do, and I can't remember exactly, I am paraphrasing because I'm doing this unscripted. This is one example of the Labour Party who are now lording it over all of us. I live in a safe seat anyway. I could have gone out and voted for the Monster Raven Looney Party. I don't even know if they're still a thing. I could have done whatever and it wouldn't have made a difference, me voting. So fuck you for that. Stick your head back up your fucking bourgeois or petty bourgeois arses. Secondly, like I said, I'm not as active as I used to be, but I have done stuff in the past which your fucking party has actually had us arrested for. 14 of us got arrested once in 2013 for trying to oppose the fascist EDL from marching through Newcastle. The fucking Labour Party stitched us up with the police. And we spent 11 hours in police cells and there was no charges made against us. Political policing? Do you really think so? So with that, I'm going to say fuck you. Yeah. Am I pissed off? I'm bloody right I am. Am I happy to see the end of Rishi Sunak? Of course I fucking am. But I am not going to cheer on Tory light in the form of the Labour Party. It's exactly the same thing with a different fucking window dressing. That's all it is. So with that, I'm going to say, well, if you voted Labour in good faith, and I respect your intentions. I've had a couple of discussions with a friend of mine, my friend Vaughan, who lives in the southwest. I believe he's a Cymro originally. Nothing against you, man. Your intentions were good. People like that, I get it, believe me. And if I lived in a swing seat area, I probably would have voted for some progressive candidate, but I live in a solid Labour area, it makes no difference. So with that, I do respect your intentions and people like that. However, these condescending pricks who said to me, you're part of the problem because you didn't vote, you're the reason the Tories got into power before. Fuck you. Fuck yous all. Yous bastards are part of the problem. Yous are the kind of people that let the fucking Freikorps in to murder Rosa Luxemburg and Karl Liebknecht in 1919. The Social Democrats, look it up, Karl Kautsky. Yous are the reasons that people like me got arrested because we're too extreme. Yous are the fuckers that kicked out lots of people for criticising Israel, particularly Jewish people. And you have the gall to accuse the Labour Party of anti-Semitism. I have no love of the Labour Party. I have no time for them. From its very inception, as the fledgling independent or international Labour Party, I forget the name off the top of my head, 1916, it cheered on the state murder of James Connolly in 1916. Now some of these Labour bloody lackeys are there saying, oh, James Connolly's the greatest hero ever. They are even cheering on Bobby Sands. I remember Bobby Sands dying. They denounced him at the time as a terrorist. Some of them even were too cowardly to even support the anti-apartheid movement because the ANC were terrorists. They're too cowardly to support Palestine because Hamas. The PFLP and the DFLP are also factions and they're fighting against the fascist state of Israel, so spare me the anti-Semitism shite. There's loads of Jewish Holocaust survivors also calling this crap out. But the Labour Party's kicking them out in droves. Especially the Jewish ones, funnily enough. And yet they have the gall to accuse us of anti-Semitism. But these Labour voters still keep saying, if you don't vote Labour, you're responsible for the Tories getting into power. Wake the fuck up. Wake up. Social democracy is not fucking socialism. Fuck, it's soft capitalism. You could also say, as Stalin once said, perhaps a little bit generalised and mechanical, he described it as the soft end of fascism. He kind of had a point, to say the least. But anyway, voting, okay, go out and vote if you think it's going to do any good. If your intentions are good, good luck to you. But organise. I mean, if you can organise, do it. Get involved in food banks. Encourage people to not pay bedroom tax. That's not a thing anymore, but it was 10 years ago when I was involved. Get people to encourage to civilly disobey draconian violent laws against them. Encourage people to make appeals against the benefit sanctions that they have. Encourage people to help each other out. It's all part of socialism, not just voting for some slightly less extreme version of the Tory party, which calls itself the Labour Party. That is not revolutionary action, so fuck off with that. Anyway, I'm done. My name's Neil, or Niall. I'm known as Red Fenian Punk. I'm out of here. Slán go fóill, agus go nairi an borthaibh go léir a chuirde.